Hey lovelies, Lisa here doing a comparison video of Lana Zellner's Tattoo Tarot. This deck was originally just called 78 Cards. 8 Coins was the name of Lana Zellner's LLC of her company, and it became rebranded as 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. Now, this is the original self-published version, and it is, actually I didn't realize this at first, it is considerably smaller than the US Games version. The backs are identical, and the cardstock is quite similar. Both feel sort of slightly slick. The US Games has a little bit more of a dusty feel to it, which a little bit more matte feel to it. They're both about the same level of thickness, but although you can't really tell it here, it's clear to me that Zellner's original deck is a little bit thicker because the stack is a little bit thicker. You can sort of see the difference in the thickness here. Now the colors and the artwork are really similar quality, but you'll notice the smudging that happened with the original deck. Some cards are worse than others. This happened with just a little bit of shuffling. So this deck has not been used extensively. I haven't read with it that much, and partly that's because it smudged almost immediately after I got it. Other thing to notice, the original deck, 78 Cards, 8 Coins LLC, drawing number 33. This deck came in, and this is true of the US Games version as well, it came in the order of the way in which Lana Zellner actually drew these cards. So this was the 33rd of 78 cards that she drew. And that is also reproduced on the US Games version. You have, however, with the US Games version, of course, you've got their copyright. So I'm just going to flip through this. There's not a whole lot to see. The colors look a tiny bit different in my camera, but in person they're really not so different. And, you know, the corners are a little bit more smoothly rounded in the US Games version. The US Games version does not seem to be smudging. And I would say, I mean, my hands aren't that big. The original edition, the size is more a traditional tarot size. So I will, for instance, compare it to the Tarot of the Moon Garden, which I just received, and it's the same size. It's a nice size. The new version is much larger, which is okay. A little bit challenging to shuffle, as I'll show you in a moment. So you can see on some of the original edition, you can see the smudging more than on others. I'm just going to go through it. There are 4 cards that are different, and we'll see those. The original versions are included with the new US Game deck, but you also have the replacements. So as I say, most of the difference in color is either because these have gotten smudged or because the light is making them look different. In person, these cards, other than being, oh, now that is different, okay. The background of the Hanged Man in the original is much darker. Interesting. Death 2, the quality of the sky is more blue in the original. Yeah, the red is a little bit more vibrant throughout in the new version. So this is one of the ones that she redid. So that, you know, it's an early card. It was her 3rd card. So her first 4 cards she redid for this edition. I love that moon card. And again, I think that in general, the colors are really similar. Here, the blue is a little bit more purpley, a little bit more red. It seems like the colors are slightly more saturated in this new edition. And certainly having the bigger images is a plus. Although in some ways it makes the borders a little bit more annoying. So for those of you who like to trim decks, you're going to have fun trimming the new version. I, however, don't trust my trimming abilities. Yeah, so this black is much redder. So it seems like they've all been tilted toward the red. Oops. Sorry, I'm doing this with my iPad. One of these days, I will actually get a good setup for filming. I love this Eight of Pentacles, the sort of the student, you know, she looks with the pencil behind her ear. Okay. And this Nine of Pentacles, one of my favorite Nine of Pentacles. Love the Page of Pentacles here with the clock and the pearls. One of the things about this deck is that the court cards are sometimes really hard to distinguish from the other cards. There's, as you see with like this knight, you know, we have the knight up here. The knight, it's kind of wonderful for the Knight of Pentacles to be, you know, a statue. It sort of emphasizes his sedentary or sort of like more stolid and more kind of, you know, the Knight of Pentacles who has that kind of Samwise Gamgee kind of, you know, oh, I'm along, I'm here, I'm ready for the quest, but sort of more inertia. But it does make it hard to think of the knight as a person when he's depicted as a statue. And then the aces have, I think all of them have human figures in them, so then it becomes really a little bit tricky to distinguish the aces from the courts in this deck. Yeah, so here's an example too, you know, just the greater red saturation of the cards, or this one too as well. So I have these cards now in order of the suits, which means that those replacement cards, which were the first 4 cards that she drew historically, are sprinkled through the deck. So for instance, this is the first card she drew, the Nine of Wands. And that's, I mean, to me, that's really interesting. Like, she started out with the Nine of Wands. I mean, I love that we have this ability, and this is called drawing number 79 because it was, she redid it at the end, right? We have this ability to like track her journey through the tarot. I love, love, love this Page of Wands. Even though I sometimes get a little bit tired of wands always being foxes, it seems like a really common association, and it's one that I like. I just, you know, want to be surprised. And then, oh my God, this Queen of Wands. Brilliant. This is very traditional feeling Ace of Cups, very Rider-Waite-Smith. More partnership than romantic love. Here's another one. I think this was her second drawing. And I love how she's redone it as drawing number 81. And again, she includes the 4 original pieces of artwork in the new US Games version. So, you know, you can have in your deck, you can choose to keep those 4 or you can replace them. This is a really quite wonderful 5 of Cups. Aladdin's lamp, you know, which is a nice take on the 7. This feels very, to me, this feels very Morgan Greer-y. And, you know, I think there are other places where we have a kind of Morgan Greer influence, like the Nine of Swords. I love this new Ten of Cups. The Page of Cups. A lot of koi here. Whoops. Where's the Knight? There we go. I'm not sure I understand the imagery with the Queen of Cups, but... And, you know, I'm not totally enamored of some of the stuff that happens with the courts, like this kind of removal of the human figure in place of the symbolism of the eye, but, you know, like I keep wanting to read this as the King of Swords rather than the Ace. This is a great Three of Swords. This, I think, epitomizes what bringing this kind of modern American tarot, this modern classic tarot to, the modern classic tattoo to the tarot. This is like, yes, 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 with the tears and the shielded eyes. And again, this more reddish coloring. Interesting depiction of the Four of Swords. Equally interesting depiction of the Five of Swords. I don't quite see it, but I mean, I do. Well, no, I guess I get it, but you know, it's interesting where she decides not to have the human figures and just the symbols. And then I love this. So this is that Nine of Swords that is almost identical to the Nine of Swords in the Morgan Greer. And this just freaking brilliant. You know, the way we bring our own self-destruction upon ourselves. You know, this is, nobody did it to us. The self undoes itself. This is a wonderful Page of Swords. Beautiful. Wistful. The Knight of Swords, you know, it's like, which way do I go? Which way do I go? Right? I mean, there's that kind of impulsivity and effort to be everywhere all at once and having to make decisions without completely figuring it all out. And the King of Swords. So there we have it. Lana Zellner's 78 cards. 8 coins tattoo tarot. And yeah, I'm gonna have fun with it. So, oh, oops, sorry for shaking the camera. So let's see if I can quickly demonstrate shuffling of the deck. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. So it's you know, quite a handful, but a nice clean riffle shuffle. And even with my fairly small hands, I can manage this deck just fine. And no smudging, no chipping. Yeah. It's a great deck. Yeah. And I also should note that in some ways I think that the back art with the rose is easier to see. It's a slightly lighter, slightly redder shade of black, and it works. Okay, thanks for watching, y'all.